Okay, this is my friend Katie, and Katie has not said anything about it, but my hair is large because I got it cut and it gets larger when it's shorter. So,
Awesome. I want to get my hair cut too. It looks great.
so
It does look
Kate,
cooler.
I know the bigger the curly comes out. So the interesting thing about Katie is that she and I have known each other for a while, and I've been working with her on her chart. She was part of the BOG group, and Katie's perspective was different and important in the BOG group. So one of the things that I noticed about Katie's perspective when we were just discussing this like deceptive creature that could be male or could be female, and then wanted to breed because it needed a new demon. And I said, after hearing Katie in the first BOG group, I was like, you know what? War is the art of deception. And this creature is very deceptive. And one of the things that I did in Katie's chart is I ran the asteroid Lilith, because Lilith is about that rage. So Lilith is 1181, and it's about that rage from Gilgamesh cutting down the life tree, which I think is like changing our DNA. And he was a massive rapist. And the other thing I found in Katie's chart is she has Horus on the IC. And I believe that Katie's lineage, and she doesn't have to talk about her lineage, but I believe her lineage was that lineage that they were using to create these children, that they wanted to be a particular genetic background. So Katie has that in her chart, and she has like a lived experience of being pretty upset, I would say, like the feminine rage for the breeding program here. And I put up a link yesterday that I will try and get on this video also, that it's straight out of Genesis, that these beings came down to Earth and it was a rape breeding program, and that is still what's going on. And these gods that we define as gods, they have this mass rape of every human because they think that the human needs to take their DNA and incorporate it into our experience. And that's what this place is. So let's not be in this subconscious fog, but this is a breeding program. I think we're like kind of imprisoned, and the women in particular have been used as wombs for very deceptive creatures to get their genetics upgraded. But Katie's also going to tell us a little story that she learned recently, that it wasn't just the women. There are other archetypes. If you look at the god Zeus, he was just a rapist of everybody. And I very much associate Zeus with Gilgamesh in that he thought he was a god. And no matter what happened, no matter who they sent in, whether it was Inanna as a prostitute, the guy just kept creating monster babies. And I feel like we need to address this because it's deep in our subconscious. So Katie, tell us anything that you want to, and also your work with women and what your idea is about this place.
Yeah, so thank you for speaking out about what you do speak about, because this place is a madhouse. I like taking us through the journey through the swamp, and I'm like, yeah, so that's what these things are. This is what that is. Ultimately, we've got these beings that are just messing with us on so many different levels, and it's all of us. And we're just being completely taken advantage of and harvested for our energy because of this. And it's not like, what it could be, because it's been for so long, we've been programmed in so many different ways to do what we do so that we feed them our energy. And these relationships are codependent and narcissistic, and they create these dynamics that feed these gods, like you said, quote unquote gods. Yeah.
So
And
go ahead, Kay.
And just, you know, my desire is to help serve women and children and create a safe space so that we can form community and help one another to heal trauma and stuff. So that's what I'm working with other women to do right now.
Yeah, so the interesting thing that Katie was telling me in our last session is that there's so much programming, there's so many layers of programming, and the deception is so deep that we end up fighting each other instead of getting to the core of what's under there. And
Yeah,
if we can't understand that this is a breeding program and that these gods are rapists, and that the whole idea of even marriage and sex and pornography came up when I first met Katie. Like, we're being programmed through the Viper Queen, Gaga, but also through a lot of like pornographic programming, so that love is not real. It's rape. And this is something that if we can get to the core of that, that we're not making love,
right,
we're being raped by a demon inside that keeps happening generationally. So what do you hear?
right. Unfortunately, males are very much controlled by their lower self, and that head controls this realm. It's what's reflected in literally everything here. The reason the internet even exists, I can pull up a picture of a boy saying, male saying, porn exists so porn can be in our hands. And that is literally what's been going on for all the time. It's just now visually there forever. But these acts that they view and produce are their nature. You know, it's what they are bred to do, what they're made to do. It's just his story is rape, pillage, and torture of this plane of existence. And you know, I don't necessarily think all of them want to live in that realm, and those that don't want to live in that realm would say that I'm correct in saying that they have a hard time keeping that at bay. Um, and those are the only males that I would trust, to be fair. Um, yeah, it's not an easy talk to talk about because women are also programmed to protect these entities, these beings. And then when they're with them, they're controlled by them through their energy exchange and all levels. And it feeds into each other through like different types of cords, but these cords are, you know, they're hard to detox from, and you would probably need a lot of time to detox from them because it's a very parasitical relationship that's going on between males and females at this time, and that's because these gods use us for food.
Holy crap. So this is, I mean, so you can hear Katie can get right to it on this, and I want to back her up on what she just said. So the nog, which I've talked about, and removing the nog, is a sexual impulse inside of us from the original rapes, and both men and women have the nog, and you get corded in through that nog, and it is a reptilian type of an impulse. And I listened to a video recently from two different draconian, they both admit that they are draconians. And the thing is that they told me in the video that they lift their lip, like when a woman,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like I can't even do it, but they lift their lip because they're trying to scent her, like, almost like Elvis,
yeah, guys,
Elvis.
yeah. They don't even need to move their lip. It's like they can. It's almost like a smell or something for sure, though. Like they're very they just want it. That's just their genetic. They're made to get it in, and that's what they want to do. They're made to reproduce, be reproducers.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times the template is rape, and they have to really be in control of themselves to not do that. So that's a horrible state to be in too, especially if you don't want to be that kind of a being, right? Like that's a hell, right?
Yeah.
So I have compassion for the males here. I'm sure they don't want to be in this state of existence either. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's exactly it. So what I have enjoyed about my conversations with Katie is the empathy and the compassion for the males who have that kind of influence inside them. And it really goes, I've heard some terrible stories also about males being sexually stimulated by other males when they were like 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old. And then they get that in themselves, and the rape replays itself, and it's not love. And I'm not against sex. So I'm not saying like that we shouldn't be passionate people and that we shouldn't have pleasure through our bodies, but we really have to get to this baseline of the template here is a breeding template. And the nog that is inside of us, I think, is that fallen race that is pushing the breeding template. And when I heard these two draconians talking, they said they could go into like a lust, like almost like slut mode, where they cannot help themselves and they're like happily married. But then what happens is that is where the nog takes over, and the monster, like that creature in the bog, is just going to perversely like disguise itself and pretend that it loves you and try to seduce you. But it's all about that baseline breeding thing. So we have to be honest about that.
Yes, and ultimately that's the majority of what it is. That's their impulse there is to do that, and that's prevalent and so many aspects of this place we're in. So
And then the
yeah.
women. So now let's talk about the women.
Oh yeah, well that's enabling, right? Like the women really create them, right? We're here to create them in a lot of ways. Like women are very obsessed with that. Like there's the boy moms, which will do everything to protect their rapist sons. They've even created, I just found out, this organization called WAR, which is Women Against what's it called? Registry, Women Against Registries, because they don't want the sex offenders to be found. And I'm like, this is insane. Only in this world would women be doing the opposite. Instead of saying women against rape, we're against registry, to letting people know that this person's a rapist. So, and so yeah, women enable this a lot. I mean, we see it in so many different instances with these Viper Queens, with these snake and spider entities that are very manipulative. And just like in the bog, this entity Julia, she presented feminine, but she had penis. And we have this occurring right now as well. And I think this connects to the perversion that males have had in their hands, since they've been children. And that just, getting worse and worse the more they view it. And so they need more and more content to stimulate themselves. And these entities feed off of that.
Yeah. So this is the interesting thing. When I studied with Barry Long said that most men are just masturbating. When they make love, they're actually just masturbating. And the way that and Barry Long, by the way, did so many like seminars on this and wrote so many books. And one of them was called Making Love. And he said, the only problem on this planet is the problem between man and woman. And it is the only problem on this planet, because as long as man has to watch porn and then masturbate, he doesn't actually love any woman. And I have heard this from clients that they cannot even, I mean, I'm in a public place, so I'm just going to have to say, they cannot get an erection unless they're in their mind thinking about that porn. So then they are being programmed that they cannot even love the woman because they have to get this sexual perversion image in their head, and then their penis works, and then they have an orgasm.
Right.
So when they're coming after you as a young woman, know that they have this thing inside
Yeah.
of them that is propelling.
Yeah. And then that's what goes into you that messes these women up. Okay. And then they end up having like sickness, or then they end up doing perverted things too, or then their minds, get messed or obsessed with the guy that just, did that with them. Even though it wasn't that great, they're still like, into him now. So that keeps this cycle going, and then they might get, pregnant with, a rave baby, which, that's what's going on here. A lot of entities are getting in because it's just about monkey sex. It's not love. That I don't even think that's a thing. I think like we can have connection with each other, and it can be intimate, and it can be special, and it can be beautiful. But the love that we have here now is very manipulative, right? And it's not like it's not about empowering each other or making each other feel good. And that's that's unfortunate. But it's become like a dominating thing, a demeaning thing, a degrading thing, a humiliating thing. And then there's the whole purity culture too, saying that men are impure, but then it's like, they're cutting them at the moment they're born. So, and then they're being told that they have to do all these things that they're biologically not supposed to be able to do and or capable of doing. So it's like very difficult to live in this world when it's like everyone's kind of at each other's throats all the time. And we can't just be what we are and honor that reality. Because if someone's supposed to be here to have sex, that's not a bad thing, like sex isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
So, yeah, I want to pull out what you're saying with the women too, because Barry Long really explained that in his teachings. He said the woman starts to protect the man based on whatever his semen is
Yeah.
carrying. So
Yeah.
Katie and I talked about this, and I was like, we got to do a talk together for everybody, because she, as a young woman, has this experience. She knows this is true, that if you let those semen in, whatever the consciousness of those semen are, they will make you very protective of even a perpetrator, because
Yep.
that's how it works. Tell us about the subconscious part of that.
Okay, well, seminal fluid is subliminal fluid. So you just take that word and mess with it a minute, because that's what it is. The seminal fluid, it comes into you, and then it literally will go into your brain at some point. Like this stuff infects your body in ways. And then a lot of it's not even, it's very defective at this point now too, because of what they view, right? So it's coming into you literally, and it's harming you, and then that's messing with you, and then it's also connecting you to this person that's going to harm you even more, especially if like you're not really supposed to be with them. So
Yeah. So this is a core conversation, because people will say to me, well, then how can we even be in a relationship? And I say, look, in my experience, and I have made videos like this with my own partner, it took me 17 years to even trust him. And I've been very honest and even made a video with him, like how hard this was. He had to get the demon out of him. The first part of getting the demon out of you is to recognize this is a demonic breeding program. The first part of it is to look yourself in the mirror and say, oh my gosh, am I acting like a demon? Am I after this woman to just get my seed in her, to use her womb, and to know that that is a demonic breeding program? If you do not know that it's a demonic breeding program, that's what we're in, then you're going to be this unconscious, sloppy blaming, gaslighting, or what is described as narcissistic, because you're not able to see the program here.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, males are set up to be viewed as gods here, right? And their penis is literally worshipped in all these religions, and like everything revolves around them. So like they're set up to be narcissistic, and we're set up to be codependent, and like do all these like people pleasing ways, and then like the moment you're alone with them, everything changes, because that demonic part comes out. It's like, oh, I can conquer this right now, and it can, and it does, and it will. So I encourage women to not be with them, to separate as much as they can, and to try to, heal from whatever it is that they have had experiences with these, creatures that are harming them, because they don't like us. The majority of them don't. Like that's a big part of the programming too, as well, is to see women as inferior, as objects. And I mean, it's everywhere. Like you go down the road and you see a stripper placing high caliber female entertainment, because they don't see us as humans, and we create them. So like there's a very big disconnect here.
Wow. See, you see why I wanted to have Katie on, and I know that the males are gonna feel worried
And
about.
that's fine. They can get in their ego, and the women can too. Everyone can get angry at me. It's fine. I see this place, I see how women and men are created, and I'm like, it's wrong. This is wrong.
It's
We're
wrong.
being all used and abused here.
All of us, the males and the females, right?
Mhm.
And that's the thing for the males is though, from the male perspective, they've been put into this like patriarchal pedestal. So I've used the example of Donald Trump, that he's truly actually a misogynist. And you would not believe the number of people who say that he's the Messiah. Like this man is a misogynist and has released a bioweapon, and everybody thinks that this is our Messiah. That exactly explains the programming that Katie's trying to tell us about.
Yeah, it's actually so layered. It's ridiculous. But it's I mean, getting back to Earth is getting back to Mother, right? Like see what's been done to her, and then see what's being done to women, and see what's being done to children, and see how like it's just not a safe realm for us to be in freely. Because if it was, it wouldn't look like this.
Yeah, if this were a holy place, really, if this were the place that was like transformed by the so-called Prince of Peace, well, then what's going on in Israel? Because from my perspective,
No.
right, this has not been transformed by the so-called Prince of
Right.
Peace, and we have to see it for what it is.
Yeah. And to add that, a layer to that, there's a video, I don't, it's probably harder to find it now because it's a male speaking the truth. And he's saying he's a scientist and he's talking about the patriarchy and chimpanzees and bonobo monkeys and love. And what's happened is like patriarchy is given women as like this wheelchair ramp in life to do all these things for them. And you know, just it's made it like a world that's very like cutthroat and warlike, where bonobos, it's matriarchy, and these women, you know, they allow the males that are kind to exist and loving, and they reject the ones that are violent, and they live in harmony together, and it's a more peaceful community and all that. I'm like, you know, he said actually we're more like the bonobos than we are the chimpanzees, but they don't want you to know that because they want to keep their Christianity.
Mm.
So this is a very good video. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Wow,
it's
that's
just to add
powerful.
that.
Yeah, that's powerful. And the other piece, like, so I went to the hairdressers, okay? And I get like the perspective of other people when I'm at a place like that, because usually I'm talking to people like Katie, I have a very clear perspective. And I heard this like, if they just accept the Messiah into their heart, they will be redeemed. We just have to keep preaching the gospel. But what they don't know, and was in that article that I will try and put in the description here when we finish this video, is that the majority of the draconians have not taken the light of man. And no matter how many times they interbreed with us, now at this point, they are so demonic that there's no way for them to take the light of the man. So even if you're like preaching religious stuff to like help these people found salvation, the whole religious thing was created by them to cover up the fact that they are so demonic. I mean, this is the whole of religion and government was created as a distraction. It is the art of war. It is a
Yes.
deception.
Yes, and they've had so many centuries to do horrifying things to get rid of the women that know these truths. So, and that's their legacy. That's their legacy. That's their history of their religions. And it's very hard to talk about it because it's so frustrating. Because it's like, you know, I care. I really do. I don't want it to be like
Yeah.
this.
This is so exactly on point too, Katie, because I have been like, when I tried to speak up on Jason of Archaix's sites, I immediately was blocked. And I know that Jason of Archaics is a draconian. When I tried to speak up on Jonathan Mercedes' work, I was blocked. I was blocked from all his different pages and from the Tribal Knowledge Academy or whatever it's called. I was blocked. And then I got onto this Holy Blood page, and as soon as I posted, the whole page was closed down because a woman said something and questioned this whole Prince of Peace thing. And I was like, not within a minute of me writing my little tiny introduction post was the whole site taken down because I said something.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Power of a woman, man. Literally. Like they know they're afraid of us, and that's because they know it's like I feel like they can't like they live down here, and that's where they're controlled by these creatures. So that's very hard, right? Giving them up and honoring the fact that like they can, you know, they could. I think giving it up is too hard for them, though. Their ego doesn't want them to.
Well, the whole idea of the breeding program, I think locks them.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
locks.
that's true. Everyone wants to have a kid, and yeah, that's why we have like so many people, and then now they're like saying that there's not enough people now. Like,
I know. And it's a chaos dream for the chaos god Janos. It's the chaos
yeah.
dream. Like we have to reproduce our genetics. You have to, and yet now we can't. We're going to turn off your ability, and we're only going to make Wraith
Mhm.
babies. I mean, this whole thing
Yeah,
is
yeah,
an
and
insane.
right, and it's like we want to have quality lives, but like everything is so difficult to you know, get to that level if we have so much programming, right? So it's hard to reach each other in real life to form like a. So it's like we just really got to shut it down, and the only way to really do that is to not be a part of it ourselves and to speak on like kind of how this system feeds itself into these entities and like take our power back and like honestly honor our sexual energy for ourselves. Really, like take it back for yourself. Like don't be a masturbation device for these things. Like you know, maybe just take a break, be celibate for a little bit, learn how to like, you know, be who you are. That's the thing I would tell all women to do. I don't want to give men advice. I want to give males advice. All I would say is that like they got to work on themselves. And if anything, you know, honor that, you know, they can. I think they are capable of rising above that beast and conquering it, but it's going to be a lot of work because they're designed to do what that beast wants them to do.
Yeah. That's amazing. So just listen to Katie, because she's not saying you shouldn't be passionate and that you shouldn't have pleasure, but that if you have not mastered that beast, take a step back, try celibacy for a while, and then maybe you can get that purified in yourself by admitting the demon exists, admitting that we're in an insane asylum breeding program, and then see if you are honorable enough to actually care and love somebody to have an intimate relationship. Now, this is not that we're not supposed to enjoy ourselves here, because one of the things, and we only have like 8 minutes left because we had to use Zoom because Skype's not working and all kinds of weird stuff is happening with the internet. So that's why I'm in a public place in the library. But anyways, one of the topics that I want to get into is to dance for yourself, to have pleasure for yourself. And one of the topics that I will go into at some point is I want to get everyone very informed about these women who used to just dance. They used to dance for the pleasure of dancing, not for pornographic entertainment.
That makes me want to cry, honestly, because you know that's like that's those were probably the first ones to go.
Tell me, Katie.
The, that beauty, that innocence, that joy can't exist when people want to just harm it for existing. And that's what these creatures like to do. So
Just look at her heart. This is really why I wanted you to meet Katie, because under the feminine rage is the innocent and pure heart that just wants to dance and be free. and not
And
be,
not have to be harassed for it or harmed for it or, degraded for it. Uh, it's so sad.
yeah. But do you see how that immediately moved her to tears? Like she's aware of what's going on here and what we truly are. And that in order to do anything in this program is to understand what the program is first. And then maybe we can dance. Maybe we can,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah, and you can use that energy for beauty again, Like that's really what's been doing is like her taking all that energy, that sexual energy, which is creative energy, and instead it's put into, being hexed here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to understand what it is. Now we have 6 minutes, and one of the things that I wanted Katie to tell, if she can tell any part of the story of Zeus, this god person, and his affection for a beautiful human. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Katie?
Yeah, so there's this story of this uh cupbearer Phoebe. I think she was the daughter of Zeus and Hera, and she tripped and spilled the ambrosia, so she got demoted. They were like laughing at her, like, "Oh no!" So then Hera, Zeus's wife, she said, "You can don't take a mistress, don't take a woman. You can have somebody else to be the cupbearer, but don't do that." And so he looked around and he found this most beautiful young man, and he was a shepherd and he minded his own business. And like Zeus was like, "Oh, he's too beautiful to live among men. He must live with us in the." So he basically uh, stole this guy, and he didn't really have a choice. Like he was brought up to the gods, and then like enamored by them. But he was Zeus's plaything. Like he got the constellation Aquarius, but I don't think anyone wants to be a god's toy in that way, no matter what. And it even doesn't matter who it is.
That's such an
And that's not
archetype.
good. It's not good.
The
And then that's gonna
archetypal,
get this way, like wandering or something, because he doesn't want to be trapped ever again.
but this is the archetypal story. And now that Pluto has moved into Aquarius, and Aquarius is the story that Katie's telling us right now. So Hebe trips, and she was the cupbearer of the ambrosia. The wife, Hera, is a very jealous wife because Zeus is a philanderer. He wants to have sex with everyone. So
Yeah,
I
he does.
know, her perspective is he can't control himself. So don't take a mistress, go look for a handsome boy. And this is how the boys have been used. The
Yeah.
boys are then elevated and put up on this platform of, oh, you're going to be the cupbearer for the gods now, you boys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the
And
story of this realm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's not been a fun story, has it, for either of us? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because as Katie said, then the boy is just a plaything toy being used by the god. And if we can
yeah.
understand that's what's going on here, boys, we love you and we know you're beautiful too, but recognize how you're being used. This is the archetypal
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, yeah, it is like for sure. Definitely being used. And in that sense, like the gods are using them to abuse everyone and themselves included. And if it's not working, gotta look at why.
And that's where the deep shame and guilt that I find in my male clients comes through.
Hmm.
Is that they know that they are being used as boy toys of the gods for the breeding program,
Hmm.
and that the rape of the women is not what their true hearts would do.
Yeah, and I think that would be wonderful for them to recognize that and to be able to overcome that. And that is a hero's journey for themselves, not for us. And that's a good thing because then it's not like then they don't have to be obsessed with every woman they see and want to get it in and harm us, like maybe you could see us as, another being as well on this journey that wants to enjoy and have pleasure here and enjoy themselves. And so that's why I feel like so seriously, like it's not a very fun place if we're constantly, on a guard, like always, or always have to be like aware and conscious of like our footing, because if we're not, we could be harmed by one of these that are being harmed themselves by this program. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And we all want to be able to dance. Because in my, we only have a minute left with Katie, but in my next video, I really want to get into what power dance has. I've been working with someone that like shutting down the creative ability for us to dance because we're afraid someone's going to sneak up behind us and like drag us off is what also limits us in this realm, because our dance is very powerful. Our creative energy is what can really blow this whole place apart. And so
yeah. And we need to be able to do that together with women, without men involved watching it and ruining it with their nasty thought minds that are being controlled by these demons. Sorry.
So I really appreciate Katie's, and I hope her perspective can be well received by everyone in this community, because if we're gonna let our community talk, we need to be individuals with our own passions. So thank you.
So hopefully, hopefully you're all hearing me where I come from. Yes, it's all from a space of peace, really.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say goodbye
Thank
for
you.
now, sweetie.
All right, goodbye. Have a great one.
All right, bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.